Primary elections for Congress are fast approaching in New York, where the midterm elections have already been chaotic, even before the first ballot is cast by the primary voters. A sweeping, contentious, and legally fraught redistricting process redrew the maps in New York and forced some longtime incumbents into battle against each other for nomination. It's also created outcries about gerrymandering, and it's left New York primary voters with several competitive primary races, so many, in fact, the balance of power in the U.S. House could be hanging in the balance in New York, August 23rd. For some local reporting and analysis, we bring in longtime political reporter and anchor Michael Benny of our CBS affiliate WTVH in central New York. Michael, thanks for the time. First off, how much has this redrawing of these lines shaken the state's politics in the primaries?
Scott, it's good to be with you. Thanks for having me. I mean, this whole thing was shaken up. That's the word you use, really, even before these maps came out. Then they were rejected, redrawn. There was court action. At the time, there was a pretty brand new governor, Kathy Hochul, and scrambling by the candidates to know, this was fascinating, if they would even be living in the newly drawn district that they planned to run in. So I think voters are really at a loss. There's diminished interest, likely, because the whole thing was a total mess. And I think that some voters, even really tapped-in voters, are going to get to the polls, potentially on that primary day later this month, look at the ballot and say to themselves, wait a minute, this person? Who's this? I thought so-and-so was running here.
Yeah, it's confusing enough, but you have voters who don't know their member of Congress or their candidate, and candidates who don't know their voters, and they're having a speed date. And we also know one of the incumbents has been particularly prominent in the recent months is John Katko, one of the House Republicans, one of the 10 Republicans who voted for the impeachment of former President Trump. He's retiring. He's retiring from the central New York area. What can you tell us about Mr. Katko and the future of that seat in central New York?
John Katko is a former federal prosecutor. When he ran the first time, I would often say that if you looked up a congressman in the dictionary, he was right there, sort of out of central casting, at least as far as his look and temperament went. He was never what you would consider to be a President Trump guy. In fact, in the first election, he wrote in Nikki Haley's name. He said afterwards, he's been very careful, really, Scott, to not give an inch when it comes to letting on that the impeachment vote hurt him politically, especially with the conservative party here in upstate New York. But January 6th really was just it for him. And he truly felt that former President Trump was responsible for firing those people up and sending the mob to the Capitol to do what they did. But John Katko's about to be part of history here. And so the election really right now is about newcomers.
One of 4 of the House Republicans to vote for impeachment and to announce retirement. Other things on the ballot, some big races on the ballot. It's been a year this week since Governor Cuomo resigned in New York. How's the current governor, Kathy Hochul, positioned, and how's she faring in her campaign to hold that seat in November?
Well, Governor Kathy Hochul has been on television just about every single day since she ascended to the role of governor. And that's probably been the most important thing she's done, being on local news every single day and night, aside from raising money. Recent polls show that people are still struggling to some degree with the name recognition. She is the governor of New York State, but that still is a concern. And it's certainly the case with her Republican opponent, although she leads him by about 14 points in the latest poll that was out statewide. So that's sort of what Governor Kathy Hochul has going for her, those numbers in her favor for now.
What's your latest reporting on that attack on her challenger, Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin? That was striking and caught the nation's attention earlier this summer.
Yeah, you know, this, I think, more than anything, really, raised Zeldin's profile, in a terrible and an unfortunate way, but really raised his profile beyond downstate, where he's a member of Congress. This man comes to a rally that the candidate was having outside Rochester, gets up in his personal space. The people in the crowd are wondering what's going on here. And he has some sort of it's been described as a keychain with a sharp point on it, or 2 sharp points. To me, it certainly looked like it could have cut Congressman Lee Zeldin and injured him. It really was a weapon for all intents and purposes. But this opened up 2 deep issues, and when one of them opened up much faster than the other, Scott, bail reform first, a big issue in New York State. This man who did this attack, which is on camera, was released with a ticket, and that sent a lot of people into a rage. How could somebody accused of that sort of an attack be released on bail? But supporters of the reforms that we have in New York right now will tell you that bail isn't supposed to punish you right out of the gate. It's really designed to guarantee that you'll return to face the charges against you. If it weren't for a governor's race, I'm not sure that bail reform would be so top of mind, but it is boiling in New York right now.
About a dozen days till the primaries in New York. From Onondaga County, New York, Michael Benny, thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott.